Hi, so I'm Martin. I'm the studio creative director at Jaw Drop Games, and we are making Gun Jam.
All right, really quick, let's start with an overview of Gun Jam. You're combining an FPS game with a rhythm game in order to create a first-person shooter rhythm game.
Yeah.
Basically, is that the gist of it? Basically.
Yeah, it's kind of like the gameplay mechanics you've seen from things like Guitar Hero, but with FPS gameplay combined. And you're not on rails, so you can free roam and you can choose where you shoot and generally have an adventure.
Nice. Where did the inspiration for the game come from? Where did you decide that you needed to kind of mix the chocolate and the peanut butter together?
So Dan, the other co-founder of Jaw Drop Games, came up with the original concept, and he's a musician, and there are a number of musicians on the team, but are also gamers that love playing first-person games, and the team really had a heritage of making first-person games, and essentially they wanted to combine the FPS gameplay with music and give you that kind of arcadey feel to the game. And then I joined the team and helped found the company and was brought on to direct and turn the prototype into a fully realized product.
Awesome. So, I played a little bit of it today, and yeah, it's, a lot of first-person shooters, you got to keep moving, but this game, you seriously need to keep moving because everything is kind of to that beat, to that metronome. So even if you're not shooting stuff, the game is encouraging you to dash around, right?
Yeah, we very much, that's intentional. So we based the combat on kind of a Quake or a Doom feel, but we wanted to set it to music, and we wanted to introduce that cartoon look aesthetic to make it really pop with the colors, with the music, and give everything that larger than life feel.
Nice. So this is all arena based too, right? You're going from level to level and sort of going on a killing spree to these songs, trying to max out your combos and stuff, right?
Yeah, that's right. We've tried corridor shooting and arenas. We found a combination of both works, but the arena really gives the player the space to kind of dash to the rhythm and keep you in that flow state with the music.
Nice. Now, what kind of music is going to be in the game itself?
So there will be 3 genres in the game that we're planning: trap, EDM, and metal, which is kind of an eclectic mix, but we feel will really work for the kind of larger than life, kind of slightly aggressive kind of action feel of the gameplay. And each of these genres will be represented by 3 playable characters. So when you play as that character, you will hear that genre of music. And ultimately, we want to wrap that all up with the visuals. So when you see this hero, you kind of know what they represent, and you want to become that person and kind of become that genre of music.
Nice. You're going to be the living embodiment of techno?
Not techno yet, but maybe one day.
Maybe one day. I'm curious, what rhythm games did you draw upon for inspiration, and what FPS games did you draw upon?
So FPS games, definitely Doom, the new Dooms, Quake, Overwatch. You can probably see those influences very clearly. In terms of rhythm games, it would be Crypt of the Necrodancer was stuff we looked at, particularly with how the player will move to the beat map, but then also things like Beat Saber in terms of just how well the music kicks and how kind of accessible it is as a game. You can just jump in and instantly you're having fun. And so that general kind of strategy is a big thing guiding us with this.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah, it seems to me you guys had to strike a balance between having that freeness of an FPS, but also really encouraging people to stay on the beat, right? Was this game on rails at any point?
It was never on rails, but we've experimented with tons and tons of different control schemes. It's taken a lot of work because you think, I'll just put some music to an FPS game, but in reality most FPS games are not really set up to do that, and you have to develop a control scheme that allows the player to kind of sync with the music, but the controls kind of get out the way at the same time once you're over the learning curve. So there's a very, very delicate balance. There was been a lot of systems in flux for a long time in order to hit the right balance between sort of level design, music, enemy design, and controls. And we've been through numerous control schemes and tested a lot of different things.
Interesting. I'm curious, the dash seems to play heavily into keeping the rhythm going in between combat encounters. Was that always in there? Like, was that something that you realized you could do to kind of keep the rhythm aspect of the game going, or did that come later in development?
Yeah, I mean, it was something that was in the early prototypes. Then it kind of got defocused for a bit while we wanted to get the shooting right. Then we realized you would want to do stuff other than shoot when there were no enemies, and the dash helped. And then the programmer came up with the idea of clicking the fingers to give you that kind of visual feel with the dash. So everything you see is also reflected in the music.
That's awesome. I'm just curious, like we were talking a little bit earlier, and you said one of your goals was to have people be able to add their own music to it. That's like something that's further down the line, though, right? That's like not going to be at launch.
Yeah, that's like a stretch goal. Like, if the game finds an audience, there's tons more features and things we could do in a sequel or an expansion, such as user-generated content. It's all stuff that we're excited about and that we talk about.
Nice. Now, one thing that I really dug about the HUD was the reticule was both the point for which you want to hit the rhythm as well as like shoot your enemies. Like, where did that design come from?
So that came right from the earliest prototypes, and there were in those prototypes there were other kind of incarnations of that. There was one where you could see the notes come down the barrel of the gun, so it was kind of in first person. But ultimately, we feel that the current ticker is what works really well. And if you go back to the tweet that originally went viral when the game got signed, you'll see that it hasn't changed since then. It's just the clearest way of doing it without kind of like obscuring the game world. So you can, you can see the notes coming up, but you can also see where you're looking.
What was something that you ran into when putting the game together that you guys didn't expect from putting the genres together? Like, what was something you had to overcome?
I mean, pretty much everything you can think of, we've prototyped. I think something that, like, for a long time was, like, quite hard to know how it would work until we kind of went there was definitely the control scheme with the level design. So it was like, because we want to keep players in a flow state, matching notes, do we need the enemies always to come from the front of them? Because if they're like turning around or going in other directions, are they going to waste notes? And so does the level need to be designed in a way? And ultimately ended up a combination of both. So there are elements of the levels that work like that, where the baddies come from the front. We can make them pathfind in front of you. And then also we can just make the controls very, very reactive, but give the player a help with like snap aim and things. So, they're just not, they're always able to match notes with what's going on.
Awesome. One thing I really appreciated was the fact that, you go into these arenas and you have basically the length of the song to try and get the best score. So you like racking up your score multiplier as you like get those perfect beats and then taking on all the enemies. I feel it gives it like a real arcade vibe and real replay value. Like, was it always going to be arena based like that, or?
No, not necessarily. Like, some of the earlier prototype stuff was much more going down corridors, like Ghost Runner, if you played that game, and like timing that to music. But then we wanted to bring back more of the FPS movement in. We played with the player movement model for a long time, and now it's kind of like a combination of both, where arenas work and corridors work.
That's awesome. Well, the game is looking super fun. I had a real blast, like a literal blast. I was ripping and tearing to the rhythm earlier. When is Gun Jam coming is it coming to consoles, PCs? When is it coming out?
This September is when Raw Fury are currently looking at releasing it. And there's a VR version that will also be done this year. And I'm not totally sure yet when Oculus want to release that, but that's coming too.
Awesome. Where can folks find out more about Gun Jam and keep track of what you guys are up to?
So you can follow us on Twitter at gunjamgame. If you Google Gun Jam, you'll find the website. But also visit the Steam page. Please wishlist the game if you're interested in it on the Steam page.